As we round the corner here, you guys get a better shot of, get a better view of the Hilton Palacio del Rio Hotel right there in front of us. Once we come out from underneath the bridge, you can see how each one of those rooms will look like individual boxes. It holds a record for the fastest completed modular structure at that time. On the right-hand side here is another one of our tour boat locations. They're going to give you the same tour, go to the exact same places we will. They'll just stop and start at different spots. Right in front of us is historic La Villita, means little village in Spanish. Don't call it La Villita. We can usually tell where you're from if you say La Villita. Originally, that was the home of Spanish colonial soldiers back in the 1700s. In the mid-1800s, Texas saw an influx of German immigrants that moved into the area. Some of them moved into La Villita. They built the permanent structures that you see there today, two of which are right there in front of us. They're now restaurants. If you have some time, check out La Villita while you're here. It's an artisan community today. All those old German homes are now art studios and galleries. You can go pick up a pretty cool San Antonio souvenir done by a local artist. Right here in front of us, this is the Artisan River Theater. We've got seating for up to 800 on the left-hand side. And as you can see on the right, we've got a stage. We have all different kinds of ceremonies throughout the year. In fact, the other day we had they crowned El Rey Feo, which is part of the fiesta activities. What's going on here today? River for tomorrow. Okay, this is for the River Parade tomorrow. 7 o'clock at night. Now, a lot of people were asking me yesterday why they were setting up these chairs. I told people that those are for the world's largest game of musical chairs. I'm just kidding. That's for the River Parade, which is going to be tomorrow night. On the right-hand side, this is the Briscoe Western Art Museum. It's kind of a recent addition to the river. Originally, that building was the San Antonio Public Library. Today we've got all kinds of Western-themed artwork in that building, as well as some pretty cool historical artifacts, including Pancho Villa's last saddle and the Mexican General Santa Anna's sword. Now, if you look behind me, you get some really cool shots of what should be some yellow-crowned night herons hanging out up in those trees up there. I don't know if you can see them if they're out. Oh, yeah, there's a few up there. I was waiting until we get out from directly underneath their nest to point those out. I made that mistake once. I'm looking straight up at those nests. We're going to pass underneath the Widowmaker Bridge here. And on the right-hand side, we call this Marriage Island. It's actually made up of the root system of this old cypress tree. The sculpture that's on there is called Father Massenet's Table on the right-hand side. It depicts, or it commemorates the very first Catholic Mass which was held along the river, June 13th, 1691. Father Massenet said that Mass and he named the river San Antonio in honor of St. Anthony. Now the San Antonio River is still a natural river. We didn't just dig this out to charge tourists rides on river boats. It is a naturally occurring river. Just in front of us is the Bexar County Courthouse. It's one of the oldest continuously operated courthouses in the entire state. What gives it that cool color is a red sandstone from out in the western part of Texas, in the Pecos region. If you look on the left-hand side, way up there is the Tower Life building, named for Tower Life Insurance. It's really cool right now. It's all lit up in fiesta colors at night. It's octagonal shaped and it's done in sort of a neo-Gothic style. In fact, if you look right down here at river level, you can actually see some crazy faces that carved in the side of those buildings. It says those were put there to ward off evil spirits. I don't think it worked, however. About the time the stock market crashed in 1929 is when they opened that building. On the right-hand side, this is the Homewood Suites building. Now, originally that was the San Antonio Drug Company. And rather than tear down the building after the drug company moved out, we decided to just repurpose it, which is what we do with a lot of our buildings in downtown San Antonio. On the right-hand side, this is the International Building. Houses the trade offices and businesses from the United States, Mexico, and Canada, part of that NAFTA agreement. And if you look behind me to the left, you see a really cool shot of the Tower Life building, way up there. Some people say from this angle it looks like the front of a ship coming towards you. I guess if you have a good imagination, it does. I say if you have a real good imagination, you can even hear the foghorn of that ship. This green light right here in front of us is indicating that the flood canal, which we are currently passing into, is safe to go into. This portion of the river we actually dug out. This is not naturally part of the river. We dug this out to help alleviate flooding. In the early part of the 20th century, we had really bad floods down here. Water would bottleneck the natural curve of the river, flooding our downtown. So we dug this portion out to help alleviate the flooding by straightening out the river, letting the water pass through it easier. Which means if you were at this particular spot in 1925, this would actually be high ground. Now at one point in time, they considered taking the dirt that they just pulled out of this part of the river, or this canal they just dug, and just filling in the Riverwalk Bend as we know it today. Now, thankfully, that didn't happen. The San Antonio Conservation Society was able to raise awareness of what was going on, and they saved the Riverwalk as we know it today from turning into a sewer system or something like that. Which is good because the San Antonio Riverwalk has a much nicer ring to it than the San Antonio Flood Bypass Canal. Now, if you look on the left-hand side, this is Main Plaza up these steps. If you look past those trees, you're going to see the twin bell towers of San Fernando Cathedral, one of the oldest cathedrals in the country. Back here to my left. That's been a city. San Antonio's been a municipality, in fact, since 1731, making it the oldest in Texas and the second oldest in the entire United States. The San Antonio River starts about 4 miles north of this location on the University of Incarnate Word campus, where it's fed by springs that bubble up from the Edwards Aquifer. Now, we're not going to go up that way because we're a tour boat. But if you look right there in front of us, that Rio taxi up there, you'll see with the checkered flags on it, they will actually take you 1.5 miles up the north end of the river. You can buy a ticket, and they will drop you off and on as many spots as you want to over the course of 24 hours. They'll take you all the way up to the Pearl Brewery, take you through the only system of locks in Texas, actually. If you got some time to spend in San Antonio, check it out. The structure right here in front of us is what we call Floodgate 3. This is another one of the reasons that we put in to help control the river from flooding. This gate weighs about 3 tons. It falls down out of that door, sort of like a guillotine to seal off the river. They test it every day between 3:30 and 4 to make sure that it's still working. What time is it? I'll drive fast, don't worry about it. I'm just kidding. It takes about 15 minutes for this thing to shut, and whenever it does, it seals off what would be the floodwaters behind us, protecting all of our downtown businesses in front of us. If you look on the right-hand side, just past these little tables, you see what looks like a tree growing out of the wall right there. That's because that is a tree growing out of the wall right there. The legend is that was pushed there back in the flood we had in 1921. To give you guys some idea of how bad that flood was, if you look on the left-hand side here, right where those first floor windows are, you see 3 shields above those windows. In 1921, that's about where the floodwaters crested. 50 people lost their lives, millions of dollars of damage was done. And at that point, we had to do something drastic to help save our downtowns, which when we put in our flood canals and our gates. Now, once we had the river under control, it took us a little while to create the Riverwalk as we know it today. It was officially completed in 1941. It took them 2 years. It cost a total of $400,000. At the time, it was during the Depression. On the right-hand side here, just underneath what looks like a sculpture of Lady Gaga, this is the Aztec River Theater. It started off as a silent movie house back in 1926. Today it's the only remaining Aztec-themed theater in the entire state. This bridge right here in front of us is officially known as the Robert Hugman Bridge. Some of you may recognize it from the movie Selena, based after the famous Tejano singer Selena. There's a part in the movie about her. She goes up there and spins around at night. So if you see anybody spin around on that bridge at night, that's what they're reenacting. Maybe you've had a long day driving boats or something, need to feel pretty, you can go up there and spin around. On the left-hand side, this is the former site of St. Mary's University. It started off as St. Mary's. Woo to you too. Started off as St. Mary's University. Moved up to West San Antonio. Today this building is the Omni La Mansion Hotel. It's been a hotel for quite some time. In fact, during his presidency, Bill Clinton actually stayed at that hotel with Hillary. Now there's a pretty cool optical illusion right here as we come out from underneath this bridge, which I promise we'll do here in just a second. If you look high and to the left, you'll see a freestanding brick wall. Wait for it, wait for it. High and to the left, check it out. Pretty cool. That is the Nix Hospital building. It's been there since the early 1930s. Whenever it was built, it was San Antonio's very first full-service hospital where you could get anything from a Band-Aid to major surgery there. Now we've got a restaurant in the basement. Now you can get anything from a Band-Aid to major surgery to a margarita there. Kids, if you look on the left-hand side, second floor balcony, check it out. We actually pulled that out of the river about a year and a half ago. It was living off ducks and tortilla chip crumbs people threw into the river. Please do not feed our wildlife. Now right here in front of us, this is the Hyatt Regency Hotel. Now you may notice that from this angle that the Hyatt Regency Hotel does not have privacy windows. We can see you from the river. I had a lady on my boat earlier this week. She said, I'm staying at the Hyatt Regency. I said, I know. Now across the street from this hotel is the world famous Alamo. If you haven't seen it yet, you got to see the Alamo while you're here in San Antonio. It's just untexan if you don't. Whenever they were building the Hyatt Regency Hotel, they were worried about it casting a shadow on the Alamo. The Alamo being a war memorial, it's never supposed to have a shadow cast on it by another building. So they had to do special testing before they could complete that building. What they found was the maximum height that they could build the Hyatt Regency was 16 stories tall. Today you can actually walk directly through that hotel, take you right up to the front door of the Alamo. On the right hand side, this is the Casino Club building. And don't get excited, we don't have a casino here on the Riverwalk. This was originally built by a prominent businessman back in the 1920s. It's sort of a private social club. The top floors are actually rooms. Some of the famous people that have stayed up there include Alex Haley, the author of the book Roots. And at one time, Texan actor Tommy Lee Jones once owned the entire top floor. And I'm going to spare you guys my Tommy Lee Jones impersonation for today, so you're welcome. Now, if you haven't had lunch yet or looking for somewhere to eat some dinner, this is River Square. We've got a ton of great restaurants down here. Looks like they're all open today. We've got an Italian place down here. We've got a steak place. We've got a Tex-Mex 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 place. I'm not sure if that was enough, but they're all really good. The hard part's just narrowing it down to one place to eat at. On the right-hand side, just past these Texas flag umbrellas, this is the offices of the man who built the Riverwalk as we know it today. The concept architect of the Riverwalk, Robert Hugman, put his office right there to make a statement, to prove to people that the river was safe and that it wasn't going to be flooded the next time that we had a heavy rain here in San Antonio. Now across the street from Mr. Huggins' office, here on the right-hand side, was the very first restaurant to feature riverside dining on the Riverwalk. Now you may have noticed a few more restaurants have added riverside dining since then. But Casa Rio was the very first one. They've been here since 1946. Casa Rio is also responsible for getting the boats put down here on the river as well. As we're around the corner here, I'm going to take you guys into the man-made portion of the river. Now, contrary to popular belief, we did not put this here just to confuse tourists about where they are in the river. We actually dug this out for the 1968 World's Fair, which we held here in San Antonio. The fairgrounds are just ahead of us. We dug this out so we can ferry people from those grounds to the Riverwalk. On the left-hand side of the boat, this is the Chamber of Commerce building. I'm required to mention that with every tour, so there it is. If you're interested in opening a business here in San Antonio, Chamber of Commerce is the place to go. Now if you look behind me, you may see the top of what looks to me like a twisted up Hot Wheels track on the left-hand side. That was actually a gift to the city of San Antonio from Mexico City. It's called the Torch of Friendship. We've had it for about 12 years now. Now we do still have all kinds of wildlife that call the river home. On warmer days, you may even be able to see turtles hanging out on the banks. You've obviously seen the ducks. If you look close, you may be able to see some of the fish in the river, including catfish, tilapia, bass, and perch. And freshwater great white sharks, apparently. One of the ways we help oxygenate the water for these fish is with waterfalls right here on the right. If you've never seen moving water before, you may want to take a picture of that waterfall. Very cool. Also on the right, if you look just above the bank, right above that brick wall, you're going to see the very top of the Hemisphere Tower, way back there. Now I'm going to give you guys a better view of that as we round the corner. But in the meantime, I'm going to tell you a little bit about that tower. It's 622 feet tall. It's the tallest structure in San Antonio. It's the second tallest freestanding tower in the United States, behind the Stratosphere in Las Vegas. Just a little bit taller than the Space Needle in Seattle. It was the centerpiece of that World's Fair, which was held here in '68. The top floor actually has a restaurant, a bar, and an observation deck up there. And it's pretty neat. The seating portion of that restaurant will actually spin. It does about one rotation every hour, giving you a really cool 360-degree view of San Antonio. But also making it difficult to find your seat if you get up and go to the bathroom during your meal. The bar up there will spin too, but that only works for some people. As we round the corner here, we're going to take you guys into the River Center, or the Convention Center Annex, named for Henry B. Gonzalez, who's one of our congressmen who just so happened to be from San Antonio. He was the very first Hispanic American to serve in Congress. He served in the House of Representatives for the Kennedy administration well into the 90s. He was largely responsible for getting the World's Fair here in San Antonio, as well as turning San Antonio into the military town as we know it today. Both the Convention Center and the Light of the Cockerel Theater, which is there on the left-hand side, were here for the World's Fair. If you look above the marquee for the Light of the Cockerel Theater, you see a very cool mosaic mural done by the Mexican artist Juan O'Gorman. It's called Confluence of Civilizations. It depicts Latin American culture on the left-hand side and European American culture on the right side, and they're combining in the center underneath the child of the future. Now, I don't know what that says about what our future is going to look like if those people are up there naked. But that's what that artist envisioned. The entire thing is done with 1-inch square tiles. They're all naturally colored. There's over 400,000 of those little 1-inch square tiles, which is incredible to me. I get bored of jigsaw puzzles after like 15 minutes. I can't imagine doing 400,000 of those things. As we're around the corner here, we're going to take you guys into the Convention Center Lagoon. We're going to turn around. This island on the left-hand side, the small island, is actually going to be where they're filming Survivor next year. I'm just kidding. I was just saying, just paying attention. Survivor San Antonio. As we're around the corner here, if you look to the left, you may want to have your cameras ready. I think this is going to line up just perfectly this time of day. Right where those mirrored windows are, best selfie you're ever going to take. Hashtag San Antonio Riverwalk. To get to the Hemisphere Tower, you can actually go right out through our right-hand side here, take you right through that grotto area, right to the base of the Hemisphere Tower. Also out that way, if you got enough time to spend in San Antonio, check out the Institute of Texan Cultures, which is also out that way. It celebrates all the people that have come from literally all over the world, from almost every continent, except Antarctica. Contributed a little something to Texas. Now as we're around the corner here, if you guys would please watch your elbows and fingers. I don't want to scrape anybody's elbows here. I like to call this the bumper car portion of the ride. I'd like to have a word with whoever designed this someday. Little bump on the right side. Okay, people on the right side of the boat. I don't know if you can feel this vine that's growing here, but it's got a very soft texture to it on the right-hand side of the boat. Those leaves are very velvety. I don't know if you can feel those. They're very soft, right? That's actually how you can tell if that's poison ivy. I'm just kidding, it's not poison ivy. A lady got mad at me one time because I did that to her. Give you guys another view there on the right-hand side of that huge mosaic mural that's up there. They put that up there in 2-foot sections at a time. It was donated anonymously for the World's Fair. It's above the Lila Cockrell Theater, who is one of our very first mayors, our first female mayors in San Antonio.